Hey everybody. Um Tonight I want to talk about Kanye West because he just did that stunt with the Grammys and his wife, and he's just been doing stunts for like years now, and then that weird like swastika merchandise or whatever. And I've said it before, I've been really invested to an embarrassing degree for a large chunk of my life in celebrity culture and like pop culture. And now that I'm trying to like mend my soul and my heart and my mind and find a way to live with myself, I'm kind of like looking at celebrities and trying to like learn from their mistakes and just use them. You know, I was used and allowed myself to be used like, you know, as fodder for this machine by like buying into everything like pop culture and the celebrity world for so many years. And I mean, I think everybody who grew up in the early 2000s kind of has that really warped sense kind of beauty standards and just like what's normal and everything, especially if you're female. But now I'm trying to kind of take it back and like look at them as like what not to do. And I'm reminded of the Us Weekly, I think it was like celebrities, who were at best and they're just like us, and like what to wear if you want to look like them, and what to do and what not to do, if you want to like whatever, like keep up with the Joneses. So I try to like look at celebrities, and Kanye is like a really polarizing person because he's doing all these shocking things just to be like shocking. But it's really interesting because I feel like he's kind of like the representation of human beings at this moment in time. And it's like he represents like this battle, and with the choices that we make and this crossroads that we're at, like which way are we going to go? And it's always a spectrum, but it's just kind of like good or bad, left or right, but there's like an infinite number or degrees which we can go in either direction. But at the end of the day, we're either going to be going towards the light or the dark. We're either going to be part of the solution or we're ultimately going to be contributing to the expanding problem. And I think Kanye lost his mind because he can't deal with the consequences of his choices and of his actions. And I think that's why he liked Trump as well, because they both kind of were in this like existential conundrum in a way. But especially Kanye, because, I think it just got to a point where he was like trying to call out injustices like a few years back or whatever, like a couple years. I don't know. Ever since 2020, time's been so different. It's like sometimes I'll think like something was like last year and it was like, oh shit, that was like 5 years ago. It's like really trippy. But in these past like 4 or 5 years, I feel like I have a hair stuck to my lip gloss, but anyway, it's like he started to call out these like things that were like pretty obvious, and it always struck me as weird that he was him and then trying to like make these bold proclamations of shit that's like been known, and it didn't sit right with me because it's like, we know who I think the great love of his life was, which was Kim Kardashian. And I'm sorry, you can't be married to a Kardashian, let alone the Kardashian, and be like, a decent person and a godly man. And like you can always like turn over, like go a different direction. But I don't know. It just felt like it just felt disingenuous to me. And looking back on it, I think that is correct, because look at the shit he's doing now. It's just like gross that he's trying to do what all of Hollywood is doing, which is just like trying to be like shocking and just like, oh, look at me, and push the envelope. And to his credit, you have to do something that's actually shocking to have it really push boundaries now. And Hollywood's at this weird place to where being shocking in this really obvious way is what's expected. And when it's expected, it's not pushing a boundary. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, it's just kind of lame at this point, and it feels so tired and generic. And I look at so many even like the Jesus Christ Superstar, the casting, it's like, oh, of course, I'm surprised it wasn't, a trans woman for real. I'm surprised it wasn't for Jesus, and who was it, like Sam Smith at the Grammys when he or they whatever, and even that, that's a whole thing, and we all know what's up with that. It's just like, in lieu of an actual personality, we're just going to have all these like layers of um like apparel that we put on and call it like ourselves, but it's always coming from the outside in. It's like not authentic, and it's just clear. But when Sam Smith or whatever performed Unholy at the Grammys, I think it was, and it was like that lame ass like devil costume and like sticking out his whatever their tongue and being all like provocative in a devil costume. It just reminded me so much of myself in high school. It really did. Like, even like the props looked corny as fuck, and it's like, God, is this supposed to be like edgy? Because it wasn't. It was really like, it looked like a costume that came from like a clearance bin of Halloween stuff. It didn't. I mean, it looked like a parody of something shocking. And so it's like this weird conundrum where you still have to be shocking and push the boundaries, but when that's expected, when shock value is expected, how can you, if you actually wanted to be shocking, you would do something that was like pro Christianity or conservative. And so here's Kanye. He's trying to like be this godly man, so he says, but it's like, we know, I'm sorry, I just don't think you can be that in deep with the Kardashians, have that be the great love of your life, and you be like a decent person. I'm sorry. And now like we've seen that in fact he wasn't and isn't a decent person. And he was like, oh, Balenciaga, he was calling them out, but that was like after we could already see what they were about. And his clothes are just so ugly. And that's another thing. Like, the fashion industry is just like everything else, like academia and the medical field and just fucking all of it. And it's like all like the cautionary tale, like this emperor is naked, and we all just thought he was like best dressed for decades. It's such a joke. I mean, and there are people who really have an eye for fashion and can really make like a beautiful garment, and the craftsmanship of actually making clothing is an art form. Patricia Fields from Sex and the City, that is a true gift, a true eye for fashion. So it's not like, there's not a place for visionaries in fashion, but it's like, we know that Patricia was the fashion icon behind Sex and the City. But for example, they pushed Sarah Jessica Parker, and I knew it. I had loved Sarah Jessica Parker since Hocus Pocus came out in theaters. I was the same age as Thora Birch, I think the actress that played the little sister in Hocus Pocus. We're the same age. And I always loved witches. I always loved Halloween. And I just loved Hocus Pocus. And ever since then, I love Sarah Jessica Parker just because I knew she was self-made. I respect the shit out of that. I loved her hair. I just thought she was cool, and she's an incredible actress. But at the same time, I knew it deep down in my soul. I was like, okay, me as a teenager, super invested in celebrity culture. I loved Sex and the City from the get-go. HBO was my dad's like big vice. HBO paid programming. And back then it was a big deal. And I used to sneak and watch Sex and the City like from the get-go when it first started airing on HBO. And me being like this little liberal-minded bumpkin in the sticks of West Virginia, to actually see a show at the time airing in real time, and you could look in the background and see like real Manhattan taxis and see, actually like New York City, but especially Manhattan, in the background, it was just so different. It was so amazing. I was like, wow, this is real. These are real New Yorkers in the background. It like blew my mind away. And so I loved Sex in the City. I loved Sarah Jessica Parker, but I knew, I was like, damn, she's not like in her street style. I mean, she wasn't the fashion icon that they propped her up to be. I knew it was the women, or the woman. It turns out Patricia Fields, that was dressing them. That was the true like visionary and fashion icon. And so that's just like one example. And then here comes, flash forward, Kanye with like these overpriced, like the shoes look stupid. And I know you can do anything and be like, oh, it's different. And if you put a high enough price tag on it, somebody's going to buy it, and if you make it limited edition, somebody's going to buy it and be like, oh, look what I have. But the shit's hideous, and we all know that. And when he actually said that he was like, got his fashion inspiration from actual homeless people, I was like, wow, you're a real piece of shit. You are. And then he said, when he was like in the midst of, oh, Balenciaga and Kim Kardashian, and they're trying to, whatever, like when he was going on all these rants and supporting Trump, and when he was first like going off the rails, and people were like, oh, is he crazy, or is he a genius, or what's the difference? He made like this really big deal of like saying that his mom was sacrificed. You remember that? It was like just TMZ or something, and it was like, oh, breaking news, my mom was sacrificed. And it's like, we know that, and she knew that too, somewhere deep down, and it kind of like goes back to what I was thinking about. We all make our choices, and it's like the 7 deadly sins. And if you are going to pay thousands of dollars to get cosmetic surgery, there is going to be potential for danger. And whether that was just like some type of karmic thing, or if it was actually like, it wouldn't surprise me if she was. But honestly, Kanye was okay with that, because that was like old news. The 911 call, from like the home health aides or whatever that were hired to care for his mother after she got all of her cosmetic mommy makeover procedures. The 911 call's been on the internet for a long time, and it's really eerie to listen to. It's super sketchy. But that doesn't matter to Kanye, and that's my point. And what I'm trying to take away, and I think it's a good point to look at with celebrities, like learn from these people who have put their lives in the public eye. We can see that, the sacrifice that Kanye cannot live with is that he has sacrificed himself for the riches, for the fame, for where he is at. He has made a deal to where he is sacrificed. He's owned. He's property now. And he's like pushing back like some petulant teenager, being like, oh no, you can't silence me. I'm going to do what the fuck I want, blah, blah, blah. But it looks corny, and it looks desperate, because the deal's done. They got you. And you just look like, it's pretty pathetic trying to like renege on this, on your contract. you know you are paid for. There's shit you can't do, and you can't say, and you can't just like express yourself. It's always going to be within these parameters when you make that type of a deal, for that level of fame. And you have to say what they want, and that drove him crazy, because he thought he was like above it, and now it's starting to get even less impressive, because we're starting to see, like, as the average person, like, wow, we don't need these people who don't know our names, would never in a million years dip down low enough to get to know any of our names, let alone the person behind the name. They don't know us, will never know us, have no desire to know us, but yet they want us to think that we know them, and that they are aspirational. And now we see that this is not beneficial for our lives. And the most that we can get from celebrities in 2024 is to kind of see the illusions and to see, that we all make choices, and it's never too late to go a different direction, to make a new choice. We'll be making choices till the day, till the last second of our life. But we have to deal with the consequences of our actions and of our choices. And the biggest choice for me is like day by day, even like thought by thought, being like, does this benefit me or does this hurt me? Is this coming from a place of love, like self-love? Is this what I want to do? And that's what I was saying in my other video, and in a lot of my videos, like, why is it so hard just to live and speak and be ourselves? That's all we are. That's all we can be. Everything else is just a fucking illusion, and it is crumbling, you know? But all we have to do is be ourselves and be okay with that, and try to navigate life from a place of like expressing ourselves from a place of self-love and discernment. And it's like nothing against Kanye, just for the record. Like, it's nothing against any of these people, but we're all, we've all made choices, and it took me a long time. It's taken me a long time to really start to dig out of like the trench of all my decisions of the past and be like, wow, I have autonomy to say, like, I'm done with that, you know? And celebrities, like, they don't know what to do to see when they see like they don't really have a place anymore, where there's only one place to go when you've been on the top for so long. And they don't have it like that anymore, and it drives them crazy. It's kind of entertaining to watch in a way. And we'll always have our memories with Hollywood. We'll always have like our favorite movies and our favorite pop culture moments. But yeah, but Kanye is a fraud. He doesn't care that his mom was sacrificed. He cares that he was sacrificed. And now he's just trying to be like shock value, but also like balance that with being like a man of integrity or someone who loves the Lord, or whatever. And I just don't buy it, because that shit with the naked dress, it's like, yeah, at least I get it, that's like actually shocking, and it's pushing it in a way. But at the same time, look at you. You weren't naked. It would have been cooler. It would have been super respectable if he was in the naked dress. Oh no, you got to get your fucking piece of property, And even if she was along with it, it's degrading. It doesn't matter if she went along with it. It's like looking at her like a piece of fucking just brain dead meat, like, oh, look at my fucking sexy wife or whatever. And even when you go along with it, it's still it's degrading to her, and it contradicts everything. And of course, Kim's like, wait a second, I'm America's like hoe heart, um it's so funny. But it's just gross. It really is. And it's like these people have no substance. And I'm really trying to like see that I have the opportunity, as we all do, to be something different and to be a person of substance. So that's my 2 cents for tonight. Y'all have a good night.